Hey everyone, all right, now we have a really cool, important series for those of you who are struggling with tilt, sway, and the general leverage that you need to get through the ball and towards the target. Now, the saying does ring true. The golf swing happens in the first 2 feet of the backswing. This is a critical part of the golf swing that allows you to facilitate the engagement of the kinetic chain towards the target, the allowance of you staying with your shot. So if we look at the takeaway waggle, and we've talked about this in the past, but the best way to really look at it is through the lens of the tug of war, all right? So if, let's say from my shoulder sockets down to the club head, it's a big rope that you would tie a ship to the dock with, okay? And all I'm gonna do is take this big rope and pass it to somebody back here behind me that's going to grab it and try to pull me off balance, okay? So if we were to do that in relation to the target here, so I have my intermediate point, and let's say I'm gonna get ready for my draw. So we'll start with a draw here. I got my ball slightly back of center. And now I'm gonna do a takeaway in the direction that is right of that intermediate point. So right now it feels like I'm in a great spot to not get pulled off balance. You'll notice the weight is on the inside of my right ankle. It's not on the toes. It's not on the heels where the front of my foot's coming off the ground. It is absolutely bolted. Now, notice my lead knee is already on its way behind the ball and my heel is off the ground. What I don't want to see you guys do is this. Yeah, I feel like everything's inside there, but you can only be aware of one side at a time, and you're not realizing that you're actually tipping over and falling in front of the ball, and now you got to reach back for it. So we don't want that. What's going to take care of that is allowing that knee to rotate in and the heel to come off the ground right away in that takeaway. Also, notice how that leg is giving a little bit. There's a little bit of give. I'm not trying to stay flexed on it, which would otherwise pull me off the ball. So as I go get my leverage, notice where my posterior is swiveling towards the target. And this is what allows my tilt to stay intact. So here's the rope. I'm ready to pull. Not ready to pull. So I would encourage you to do that. You're going to do a Goldilocks with this thing. So yeah, I got a little bit of leverage, but I'm sinking in front of it. And now when I'm pulling, whoa, I'm way in front of that ball. I can't pull. As soon as I start to pull, I'm going to lose my balance towards my opponent. Got it. So if we look at door frame, where's the hammer? So if I put a hammer in front of that to simulate my door frame, I'm going right edge of that intermediate point. So ball slightly back, get behind the hammer, leverage. So I feel like I've got my leverage to tug of war, still have that leverage. Notice from here, all I got to do is heave up. So from there, it feels like I can squeeze through the door frame to the right of that intermediate point. So notice how my head is still behind that hammer. So when I have this leverage, I'm maintaining that leverage all the way through that door frame and in the direction I want that ball to start. So when that stays down and I have the leverage all the way through, the lead foot has to come back to the ground and it's going to rotate behind away from the target allowing me to trap the ball up against that hammer. Leverage against the hammer. Release. And now that my lead side is back underneath me, as I'm releasing through, that lead side is right there underneath me, and the trail foot's coming off the ground. So I'm ready to pull, ready to pull. Notice how when I allow my right arm to fold and hinge, I'm ready to pull. See, this is a pulling action. So I'm actually pulling with the right side, and I'm pulling with the left side. I'm pulling simultaneously through the ball. So I'm going to pull through until the club releases, and then once it releases, it's going to pull me into my picture, into my finish. So it's pull, get pulled. Leverage through the door frame into the finish. So that's when you really see how amazingly well we maintain our postures into the finish. If you look at Tony Finau through the ball, this is one of the most critical elements of his swing that has turned his driving liability into a driver strength. And, you know, you've seen how well Tony Finau did this year. So, and how he's starting off for the following season on the PGA Tour. So, got my leverage, check. Ready to pull. Ready to continue pulling. Now I'm just going to give it a little bit of momentum, and I'm going to pull through to the right of the intermediate point. Started to the right, and then working its back right over that flagstick. Just amazing. So that's where you'll see in that swing how everything was coming through. My posture was intact. That's one of the things that I struggle with. But if I'm leveraging all the way through and that foot's on the ground, then look at how solid my posture is coming out the other side, and then my foot comes off the ground at the very end of the swing. So notice that wonderful little draw. Starts off 4 degrees to the right, and it has 1,000 spin to the left, and I'm basically 9 feet left of my line at the end. And by the way, that line is actually, the computer tends to do that, that line is actually a little right of my flag. There we go. So, I'm square to my target line. There's my intermediate point, check. There's where the door frame would be, and I'm right up against that door frame. So, take away and stop, check. Take away and stop. See how the butt has to swivel toward the target? So in order to maximize that leverage, I need to feel like I'm facing you right now. So if I go just arms, and then I try to pull from there, notice how everything's just going to be collapsed all over my chest. So I have to remove that chest from the way. Now I got my leverage. I can still pull through. Incredible how powerful and how accurate that is. Okay? So, get cracking with that as a really good exercise for many of you who tend to sway or who tend to change tilts in your swing unbeknownst to you. I would highly recommend that you integrate this in your pre-shot routine, like Mike Weir, like Chris DeMarco, like Justin Thomas. Got my leverage, check. And now from there, go ahead and hit the shot. Oh, that's too bad it didn't get it. The internet is a little, oh, it did. Look at that. Our internet's just a little sporadic right now. We had a snowstorm. Hey, look at that. Thank you, internet. So there it is, starting 3 degrees to the right, 400 spin to the left, and now I'm 9 feet offline to the right. Okay? Get cracking on that. This is brilliant stuff that's really going to help you build this into your swing, get that feel, and then next week I'm going to show you how to put that into your fade, and we'll go with a little bit longer iron, all right? See you then.